Welcome to episode 2 of the podcast, and today we have my mum. For those who are watching, you can see her. For those of you who are listening, my mum is called Moyra, and she is a Feldenkrais instructor. And Leon and I talk a lot about Feldenkrais, and most people are thinking, well, what on earth is that? And it's quite hard to describe. So we are going to hear from the source today. So welcome.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. Interesting that I'll just start off on the name Feldenkrais, because it's named after its creator, the man who created the method, whose name was Moyra Feldenkrais, and he was a Ukrainian Jew who was born at the end of the 19th century sometime. I'm not quite sure of the date. And at the age of 14, he walked from Ukraine to Tel Aviv, which was then just the port of Jaffa, and sadly now is the site of such dreadful war. Anyway, he went, once he reached Jaffa, he helped to build Tel Aviv, and there was always a lot of conflict between the Jews and the Arabs, and there was a lot of knife fighting, and so he perfected the art of self-defense, which then morphed into martial arts. He became he became a master, a black belt in judo, and from there he created his movement, re-education, and it became known as the Feldenkrais method. Although he was aware that that was a dreadful name, he even said, we've got to think of calling it something else, something better. Yeah. And he and his followers scratched their heads for many years. And then in the 70s, they went to America, to the West Coast, with the technique, the method, and the name Feldenkrais just stuck. So that's how it came to have such a cumbersome name. So back to the method itself. If you were to just be an observer walking past a class and looked in the window, you would see a lot of people rolling around on the floor, walking around very slowly, sometimes even falling asleep. But to the participants, it's a very rich sensory awareness of self-observation. And each lesson is a movement puzzle. It's often compared to yoga or Tai Chi because of the slow pace, and sometimes it's confused as fitness, but it's really a system of movement re-education designed to stimulate your brain. It opens new pathways of movements to improve the ease of your movement. For instance, as we're all just sitting here and Andy sitting there with his cat, can you move your arm towards the ceiling?
Here you go.
Honestly, move your arm. Okay. Now, did you move your arm as far as the or further than you were absolutely easy? Did you encounter any strain?
Oh, that's pushing it. That's pushing it.
And where did
See, I was seeing where the strain really was.
yeah, just a strain or tightness?
There.
Where was it? Yeah, just one. You don't have to move both. And did you notice if you're doing, just do one again, because that's more.
I'm doing my left.
Whoa, look at him. He's the
pusher.
Speedy Gonzalez. I reckon. Okay. Did you hold your breath at any point?
No, I breathed through it, but.
And did you notice a transfer of your weight onto one sitting bone?
I'm sitting very badly, actually. So.
And did you
Probably.
Yes, did you notice a movement in your spine?
So much to notice.
Yes, so
I can't notice it. Hang on.
These are things that you will be asked by the practitioner. And very interesting things, because normally we don't break down a movement into those component parts.
No, you just reach.
You just
like,
do it. Yes.
Well, you reach and you push.
Yeah.
You reach and push. Yeah. So this is another way to find out how you move. And for instance, can you feel your spine in the same way that you can feel each of your individual fingers?
What else?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's one of those you have to think.
Now I feel like I should be feeling my spine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yes, well,
Panic.
ask that question too. Should I be feeling my
Yeah, like
spine? What is the
never-
advantage? And the answer to the question is you probably not. But can you learn to? Yes, absolutely. And I think, well, Feldenkrais think it's useful. It's useful. So now to go back to the movement of the arm, what we're looking for are the movements that inhibit, that hold you back from making one very enjoyable movement. An enjoyable movement. So where in you can you sense that there is something that holds you back? It's very much involved in the antagonistic muscles of our body, so that as you raise one, you have to let go of the other. It may be different in weightlifting, where you're just tensing everything.
You're bracing,
Yes, you're bracing, you're clenching your jaw.
Breathing is different.
But you don't have to, and
yes, this is what I want to hear.
You don't
have to.
No, for some movements, yes, you need the brace for your core.
Yeah.
But I think things like lifting, if you're just thinking about the arm, it's a very stiff movement. But if you're thinking of what else is involved, you would get a greater range of movement, which is what we're all about. So I've always thought that Feldenkrais and bodybuilding go together in many ways.
Especially with isolation movements, I think, like non-compound movements.
Yeah.
Your focus should be just on that movement pattern, not trying to brace and everything else. And sometimes I do think people overthink about bracing.
Yeah.
And and come out of a movement. They're so busy thinking about everything else, they're not focusing actually on that specific movement pattern, which is probably way more important.
I guess that's where Feldenkrais helps, because most people just lift. It's like the way she said, if anyone was listening, put up your hand, everyone would just be like, what? However, you're not really, which is, I guess when you start lifting and pushing weights, if it's pull push, you're not really thinking spine.
No,
No, you're
So-
thinking of the individual
Yeah.
rather than the body as the whole. And then I think the most important, or one of the most important things I've learned from you is the letting go afterwards. Because then, you know, when you're bracing for heavy moves and things like that, you often just stay tight the rest of the day, but you need to learn how to relax.
Yeah.
Like relax the core, relax your belly. You know, for women, we're always trying to suck in, and to let go is very hard.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
to be aware of your whole body is very hard. And yeah, I think that's for me what I've learned the most from Feldenkrais is
Yes, particularly the jaw. Now, if you just think of the jaw, that includes the teeth, the tongue, the neck, the shoulders. So I think what we tend to forget is that we are so connected. The movements of the jaw will affect the movements of the shoulders, the ribs, the pelvis, and so on down to the heels. So it's a wonderful reminder that we are one wonderfully interconnected system.
Yeah. Because I
go on. Sorry, Leon. Go
I was just saying, before doing a lot of Feldenkrais, I remember I'm a jaw clencher. Like when lifting, it's jaw neck, and after a lot of training, because I'd go and we'd do Feldenkrais, and the question would be, what do you want to work on? And every time it's like, man, my shoulders, neck, always shoulders, neck. And then we did tongue.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And well, I guess when you're starting, you're like, I guess it connects, but it's my traps, you know. Like, and after the shoulders just feel lower and everything. And as I've been training of late, I've learned to, just keep the tongue easy and not clench, and it's really helped because I don't think I've complained about my neck in a while.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, absolutely.
It's that you're just, you get into and you clench everything, and I guess.
And a lot of bodybuilders now have to wear gum shields because they clench their jaws so much, they damage their teeth. So then,
and if you,
I've never been much of a jaw clencher when I lift. I tend not to, but I can't imagine clenching your jaw so hard during a lift you damage your teeth. That must, like, your neck muscles must be pretty sore after a session.
throat. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, if you're going to think of the more primitive, the primeval connections, which are the eyes and the tongue. And therefore your eye, well, if you think, if we're not in an evolutionary term, if we didn't have good connection, good communication between our eyes and our tongues, we would miss the fly. Oh yeah. So the eyes are also incredibly potent. Doing just a lesson, because each Feldenkrais created thousands of really carefully constructed movements, lesson movements, called awareness through movement lessons, or ATMs. And many of them are about these very small movements of the eyes, the tongue, as Leon was saying, the mouth and jaw. And they're incredibly effective for your neck, for your sense of vision and your peripheral vision, and the brightness, and the carriage of the head, which is also very, very important.
Yeah.
Those being aware of those two top vertebrae, the atlas and the axis, and the free movement of your head. Even though I appreciate when you're lifting something, there has to be a tube, a cylinder of strength.
Mm-hmm.
Your cat is so funny, she looks like an alien.
It just keeps popping out
Yeah,
of the corner.
if you can't, if you're not watching, his
Yes.
cat has the cone on, and she just pops up behind him. It's very funny.
It's a green cone.
Green cone.
Oh, very sweet. Yes.
Oh, geez.
So it's yes, where we were talking about
So you're a tube.
yes,
Oh, yeah.
a
Cylinder.
tube of strength. But it's interesting you should say, Clea, that you don't have to clench. That you can actually. Could you smile while you're lifting?
Yes, you could.
Yeah.
I think that is a challenge.
Yeah, with a loose tongue.
I think you'd probably do much better.
Oh,
Yes.
that'll be hard.
But it would be, I think it would be better, like,
Just
because
notice,
when you
yeah.
brace, you should be able to breathe, you should be able to
Yeah.
do other things.
Mm.
It's just
It's
that
just
brace
there.
there,
Ah,
but you could
okay.
easily
Yes, yes.
try.
There is a downside to that though. If you're
What?
smiling in the gym, people are going to come up to you and speak to you.
Like I'm not smiling, but you can make it into a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not very
No,
relaxing.
that's not relaxing. Yes.
When you're on your last rep and you're smiling.
Yeah.
No.
Well, you could always wear your mask for that.
Yeah, you just.
Oh,
But I must say that ATMs we've done, even basic ones, if you work at the computer a lot,
Oh, yeah.
you get
Mm,
so much eye strain, and just doing
yes.
when we've done eye sort of basic eye movement, it's incredible. You have to experience it, but I get floaters in my eyes. I say that people think I'm really weird, but those who have floaters, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And when I do the Feldenkrais eye ATMs, they go, because I think all the muscles are so tight, that distorts the shape of your eyeball.
Yes, it does. It
and
does.
just to relax all of those.
Those muscles
Yeah.
around there are sphincter muscles in our bodies. One, the anus, and then you have the diaphragm, the mouth, the throat,
Mm.
and the eyes.
I never thought of the eyes as a sphincter.
Yeah.
They are, aren't they? They're circular
Yeah.
muscles which can tighten.
Yeah.
So, yeah, those muscles. Anyway,
Yeah.
there are many wonderful, wonderful lessons. In fact, this talk should
Yeah,
be
also.
just a one lesson, but better to.
You'll have to
discuss
come
it.
back and
Yes,
get
I'll have to
a
come back.
lesson.
Yes, that's on eyes
On
or
eyes.
something.
Yeah.
I'll be I need my eyes for my gaming, so
Oh
you
God!
can
yes,
use me
that's
as your.
Feldenkrais for gamers. You'll make your millions.
There you go.
Yeah.
What a wonderful new direction. Okay.
Because the tongue really helped, so I can.
Yeah.
I've not done the eye one yet, but
We've done some eye movements with you,
Yeah,
and
I-
you were very impressed.
yeah, but
For the
You're so
One-
impressed you
once-
forgot.
Yes,
yeah, because
exactly.
all the movements we do, my neck and shoulders just go down, and I think I tighten up too much here, so they've really helped my neck a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's often that things, because we know everything is connected. I think a lot of people are aware of that now, but there are the strangest connections, like when Leon had his glute,
Oh, yeah.
you worked on his shoulders, and that really helped.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
diagonal and
Yes.
And often we've done like rib work and mid back, and just in terms of breathing, how
And
that is just, it's amazing. I'm also a very shallow breather. I think a lot of people are, especially when they get stressed, they're very shallow breathers.
Yeah.
But after
That is a stress response.
yeah,
yes.
after and he's disappeared. After you've worked on that, and I take a deep breath, it's like, wow,
Yeah.
that's what it should feel like.
Yes. Wonderful. Wonderful. And also, when we have challenges in our, in our muscles, usually, or joints, anyway, let's just call them challenges. We often call it aging, or repeated strain, or tightness.
Mm-hmm.
And we focus on the area that hurts. And really, and then you label, you say my shoulder pain, or my hip pain, or my joint, or my knee pain. And if you really consider it, if you widen your attention there, you can see that there are other places that are inhibiting the movement and that prevent us from having an ease of movement. And that's another thing, I think you were sort of alluding to that, Clea. It's another thing that really helps is to look at the points in yourself where you might be contracting muscles unnecessarily, which will give you pain in a certain area. Yeah.
The more I've been in this world, the more that makes sense to me, that the pain is never where it feels painful. And like for knee pain, it's usually hips or even ankles. People forget how important the feet are. And
yes, oh goodness,
and
absolutely.
And I know, again, like from lifting heavy weights, I do find it very hard to relax, especially in like my mid-spine or mid-back, and that's nice. And but I think you said that the first step is just being aware of that. And as humans, we love labeling our pain, and then it just becomes so much a part of you. And
exactly, and there's the familiarity of it. You look for it.
I know when we've always finished the session, you're like, I'm like, oh, does that feel better? And you're sort of doing an old movement to see if there's pain, and and then again, it's hard not to fall back into old patterns.
I think a lot of injuries are caused by poor movement patterns. I think like my first serious knee injury came probably about a year or 6 months after having a torn ankle ligament. And I think from adjusting to having a duff like ankle ligament or waiting for it to heal and limping around, you start changing your movement pattern, your tracking of your knee a little bit. And I think, that now having, I actually do genuinely have bad knees, is affecting things like my psoas. The link between. And, so, injuries can be caused by poor movement patterns, and then they can compound to other issues.
That's what I'd call is our history, our compensating for other things that happen to us psychologically. And that's a wonderful thing about Feldenkrais, is it affects everything, our digestion, our breathing, our psyche, which is probably one of the most important things.
I think so, especially with injuries, because that, like I said, it just becomes so part of you.
Yeah, absolutely. I empathize with you, Andy, because I did exactly the same thing, my ankle. And it was just before it was about 2 weeks before I was to fly to my next segment of training. I thought, oh God, can I do this? Because hobbling around on crutches when you're flying is no fun. But when I was there, I learned so much because I couldn't do big movements, which is such a discipline to try and do small movements and slow them down. And that's what allows your attention to expand and helps you to uncover all those little blind spots where we interfere with our movements. So, and having lots of hands-on treatment there where they would do something strange like play with my pelvis and my ribs, and I would stand up and feel just, oh, this is wonderful. It was better than before, Brenda. So that was a blessing in disguise, actually.
I think Feldenkrais would be amazing for guys who play, I guess, contact sports, rugby or basketball.
Yes, I know.
It's very quick. quick movements, start,
Yes,
stop.
exactly, to get that into more of a,
Yeah.
I think half the issue is guys rushing back from injury as well. I know, like
Yeah.
with my ankles and my knees, because especially in team sports, so say rugby, but people are going, "Are you ready to play yet?" And even the physios under pressure get you back on the pitch. It's
yeah.
But so you're rushing like for movements. So you're back running probably before you should be running, and you're back sprinting before you should even probably be, jogging.
True.
And you do it through a bit of pain. And I think you teach yourself poor movement patterns. You change your running stride a little bit just to compensate, and then that leads on to other injuries.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a very difficult decision to make if you're in sport and you love it and you want to be on the team, then something has to sacrifice. You don't have time to recognize your habits and change them. It's a very focused thing to do, and not many people either are prepared to do it.
Yeah, because I think most people, you get ready maybe 80%, and then you have 20% pain, and guys asking you, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah." And it's that psychological. You're like, "Yeah, I can do this," and then another maybe year or two, you have another major injury.
Exactly. And at the time, the adrenaline is going to
keep you going.
Keep you going. But
you're told to suck it up. Genuinely, like young people playing sport, the coach is always like, "Oh, it's only a bit of pain, suck it up, get through the game."
From the moment we're born, you're talking about young men or athletes. From the moment we're born, we're told to do better, go faster, try harder. So that's one thing that is just so pleasurable in Feldenkrais, is that you're told to not try hard, do it badly. Do it small, make the intention. And
a lot of people struggle with that.
Absolutely.
When I can't remember my first lesson with you, but it's because we are so used to pushing, doing beyond, and then because when you do the ATM class, you're generally closing your eyes and you're not looking at anyone else, and so you're probably pushing, and then you're saying no, just to like beyond where you feel not pain but even strain. Like of course I can lift my arm here, but I feel the strain there, and to slow things down that much is so hard, I think, for people. So hard. Like the first lesson, that will be the lesson for you, to slow down and not push.
People forget the human body's mechanical. Like, we wouldn't, if we knew our car had an issue, we're not going to thrash our car around and drive it at 100 miles per hour everywhere. Because we know there's an issue with the engine. Now, if one of your pistons is misaligned and, it's causing decompression in your engine, you get it sorted. You wouldn't then go, I'm going to drive it as fast as I can.
Yeah, exactly. I have a lot of clients who are riders, and they do most extraordinary things when they come to me. I can see they're really pushing and really going beyond what's come from. I said, "Would you ask your horse to do that?" They said, "No."
Oh gosh, no,
we wouldn't. So it's just a habit of pushing and not slowing down enough. Not seeing the benefits of slowing down to.
Like Clea just talked about the first lesson, and I sort of remember mine, like the first 10 minutes. But I think I had what was it? Glutes or something.
So is this glutes?
Yes. So Clea was like, "Try Feldenkrais." I'm like, "What is it?" My mom does it. She's like, "I can't explain it." And I'm like, "Man." So we come, she asks, "What's up?" I tell her, and I remember laying on the Feldenkrais table, 10 minutes. Next thing, it's like it's over, and I slept through the whole thing. But waking up, I'm like, whoa, I'm like shoulders are lower, I'm feeling glutes are easier, my hips, and like Clea says, she doesn't remember her first lesson, but I wish I could, but I don't remember because I think I just I relaxed and slept. And
That's what I would have. You ever see me in a yoga lesson? I think the only reason I've ever done yoga was a bit at the end where you don't, you have a little bit of a nap on that.
Yeah.
But I guess it's maybe just tell us, you've got the ATM, but you've also got the functional integration. So there's two.
Yeah. Well, the classes, as I said, are called ATMs, awareness through movement. And there's also another aspect to Feldenkrais where I have a table, like a massage table, and I am moving you. You are passive. If you can, it's quite a difficult thing for a lot of people to do anyway, to be passive, to let go of the neck or the hands or the shoulders, even the hips and legs. But eventually there is a reduction in any of the muscular joining in. And I'm doing very much the same sort of movements. It's just really teaching you how you might make a movement using the whole of yourself and making it into a pleasurable movement. It's very, very simple and it's not invasive. And there may be little tiny movements that are just, your nervous system will recognize them as being, that's what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And it is very relaxing. And it's also stimulating in that it will teach you a different way to do things.
Yes, I mean, I think it's the most incredible experience. I'm often your guinea pig. I love it. I love it. Leon's a bit large. He's got large limbs to maneuver.
I even fitting on the table sometimes.
Yes, that's right.
Creaking.
But it's very hard to describe it, but it's not massage, but like you say, it is stimulating the central nervous system. I don't fall asleep, but it's a nice meditative state.
You can fall asleep. You can be forgiven for it, but you can stay awake.
Staying awake, just being aware of what you're doing.
You
sometimes ask questions like, now what do you feel? Or which side feels longer?
Yes.
I suppose it's a bit like, that letting go, trying to relax. People are used to just mentally relaxing. And that's what sort of triggers the sleep rather than just relax their muscles. I don't know if you guys have been to physio, and physio is trying to check something, especially with knees, do a knee laxity test. And for me, he's always they always say, relax your muscles. I'm I'm trying, but it's really hard trying to stay present and relax the muscle at the same time. And I think maybe that's why people do fall asleep, because for us, relaxation is trying to switch the brain off and switch everything off, rather than sort of having that control over our bodies.
I would say that Feldenkrais is not switching the brain off. The brain is very active, actually.
I think that's the opposite. I think Feldenkrais, you need to be aware and relax at the same time to understand the movement.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to be aware of the differences, one side and the other. The differences after a movement. Is it longer? Is it shorter? Is it? Yeah, it's being aware of the differences, and And I think another very useful thing for weightlifters is to be aware, discover your relationship with gravity, and oppositional movement, so that when one part of you is going back, another part has to come forward. Yeah. And therefore, where is your center of gravity as you move? Are both of your feet, is there equal weight on both of your feet? Are your toes, your big toe, Is the strength coming from that? Feldenkrais was also, he was actually a doctor of physics. He was an engineer and black belt. So all those things gave him a knowledge of the, as you said, Andy, the body, the sort of the mechanics of the body, and balance from the martial arts. And he said,
I was gonna say, I can see the use in martial arts and where it came from.
Oh, you're back.
And it's all about balance. Oh, sorry, they cut out. Oh,
yes.
it's so amazing. Okay, so I was saying I can see how it developed for martial arts, because in martial arts, and something I've done a lot of, is it's about balance, it's about awareness, it's about movement patterns. Martial arts is when you're training, is practicing movement patterns over and over again, and being aware in those patterns. And every movement has to have a counteraction. Yeah. Every action has a counteraction in the body to remain balanced.
Yeah.
And that's quite important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Boxing.
Yes, I was just saying, from boxing.
Yeah.
He was saying that the power of a boxer's hip, which I don't like boxing, but I was intrigued by that, came from the big toe. The trajectory all through the lower bones, the
through the tibia,
through the femur, the pelvis, wow, that's where the pelvis, and that's why, not only sort of being aware of each finger, but being aware of each toe will just make you more functional.
Well, that's why we always say, if you can, try and, if you're lifting heavy weights, do it without shoes. I love doing that. Even if I can, I'll do them without flat shoes, because I love to feel my toes and my feet, because like you say, if you stand there, it's generally your balance is a little bit unequal. And I find doing the foot, I guess, inversion really helps if I ever get knee pain. I just do that before every single school. And it was a real game changer for me, just feeling the balance of where it is, because on my left foot, it's more on the outside. On my right foot, I feel it more in the ball. And that, of course, translates all the way up into your hips. So another reason not to wear shoes.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I've been wearing Vibram 5 fingers since 2017. And maybe end of 2017.
They're toe shoes. They're like...
Oh, wonderful. Oh, yes.
And my knees feel so much better for wearing them. Absolutely. The only problem is I sometimes stub my toe when I'm out walking or getting acacia through them. But generally, if I hike in those, my knees feel a lot better than if I'm wearing a shoe or a boot. And I train in them for that reason, just because I like my toes to spread out, to balance the weight across my toes. It takes pressure off the side of my knee, the force then travels straight up through the bone rather than up one side or.
Perfect. And also, when you have softer soled shoe, thicker, softer, it can wear down, and that just accentuates your original bias. And when you think of how many bones and joints and muscles and ligaments there are in the foot, to use them to their maximum for a healthy foot, and therefore healthy knees, hips, and so on up.
And Leon's toes are...
Not anymore.
I don't think they touch the ground.
But it's when I used to...
They're getting happier.
I think so. When I used to play football, sometimes I'd get... when you get your favorite shoes when you're younger, and then I outgrow them, and then I don't want to get rid of them. So I used to wear
squeezing your feet in
my favorite football boots, like I had my Lucky Charm boots. So I'd outgrow, and then I think my toes, they got used to it. So I was used to wearing smaller shoes, and their toes just stayed in.
You look quite relaxed today.
No, that was, I used to do Feldenkrais, and
Yeah,
now I
you're
practice.
gripping.
Even when I
Yeah.
train, I don't
Yeah.
know, well, the videos guys can see, but even when I'm about to do the
I'll film his
deadlift,
feet next time for everyone.
yeah, like when I'm doing deadlifts first, I always spread them out first and then
Okay.
now take position. And it's just something I've kept doing, and
guess
it's helped because
The thing is, I like using my toes for stuff. I got quite flexible toes. I can move quite nicely and pick things up with my feet.
Good.
Yeah,
Can we see?
And
Do you have an
Yes.
example?
honestly, I pick up things all the time. See if I can pick
And
up
you
things.
write with them and stroke the cat with them?
yeah, I was going to say lift the cat with the toes.
Oh, what's he doing?
Hang on. Let's go.
Oh, we're seeing
Can't
the,
fit.
Oh, there we
the
go.
tats.
All right.
What side are you holding?
What are you holding?
It's a Swiss Army knife.
Oh my God.
Blade.
There's this on the table.
Too many bruises.
So, but the thing is, I drive. If I wear my vibrams driving, I find I drive with my toes instead of my feet.
Ah,
Yeah,
And then
that's-
I get really sore toes by like driving from Naivasha to Nairobi. So
Yeah,
I have to wear trainers when
Grip
I'm
the wheel with your
I know.
toes.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. Lay back, have a nap, just use your feet on the escarpment.
Yes, I
No.
Oh God.
Yeah.
On the escarpment.
No,
Oh,
but-
think
my.
everybody would be so
But it's
impressed
amazing.
lately.
It is amazing because now I'm more. I think about my toes, but before, football, just wear socks, squeeze the shoe in. The socks will do the part of friction or whatever. And even there's my small toes. You can see they have like a permanent blister mark because of all
Cool.
that.
Yeah, you get hammer toe a lot from wearing football boots.
Yeah.
And I've got similar, like it goes in because of the shape of the boot,
Yeah.
curves quite tight and pulls them in to a point. A bit like women who wear pointy, high
Who
heels.
used to wear.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Oh no. I mean,
Yes, no, they.
Wedge your toes in.
yeah.
But I also think as parents, I'm quite mindful when I'm choosing Kaya's shoes for school and stuff. Because when I was younger, I'm not, my family didn't have loads of money, so you get hand-me-downs a lot, and you try and so you'd wear your shoes until they were too small,
oh yeah.
and then you would end up moving to a pair that were massively too big,
I'm too big.
and,
Which is also not.
and so you're either trying to grip a shoe with your toes to keep it on your feet, or they're wedged in. So I do think having shoes that fit is a good start to try and prevent some injuries from day one.
Yeah, and it's not just the feet; it's all the muscles and the leg as well.
Yeah.
If your feet are cramped,
Yeah.
then you're walking in a funny way, and your legs are going to be—they're just not moving in.
There's a lot of places though where people don't wear shoes, and they generally seem like they move quicker and stuff. So, even in places like Cape Town, a lot of the guys who live in Cape Town, you go around the shops and you see people barefoot walking around, and you're like,
yeah,
bit
that's
random.
wonderful.
And I love that about Kenya, like Pembroke, Kaya's school. You just walk around, you see kids without shoes on.
Yes, that's lovely. Yeah, it really is lovely. I think if you have to wear shoes, then the best thing to do throughout the day is to change your shoe. It'll make a different part of your foot. Yeah.
I like that idea. Just have
When
four
you
extra
have-
pairs in the car.
You have many shoes.
Yes.
Yes, you have
It's like,
You're like,
Yeah.
why are you changing your shoes, Feldenkrais?
Just going to exercise the little toe now.
But it's
when I'm home, I just don't wear shoes.
I-
I don't wear shoes. I walk across everywhere
for me,
barefoot.
I think because of football, my other toes are good. My little toe is beyond saving, I think, at this point. But
Your little
But
toe
I'm
is-
trying.
It's in a coma. There's
Yeah,
no
my-
edge for you.
my little toe is just for me not to look like a freak. But it doesn't do much. But
Yet.
but the
Yet.
yeah,
No,
Not
we're gonna
yet.
get that little
but
toe.
slowly just being mindful, it's really helped because during my squats for warm up before I wear shoes and deadlifts, I notice they get quite longer. So
That's
yeah,
wonderful.
so
I think everything, all our like pushing and lifting movements do start on your feet. All these big compound exercises, you got to make sure your foot placement's correct before you start trying to do squats, deadlifts, cleans, whatever it may be.
Yeah. And try to maybe when you're doing your squats or whatever it is, to do it with an attitude of curiosity. Now, if I go like that, what would happen if I do it on this one? Because the Feldenkrais movements there are repetitions, but each one is done. There are variations. Each one is done, and you can just try breathing in at the same time as you do it, and then breathing out as you release, or the other way around, and noticing your jaw and your tongue, and just noticing how it feels best to you. I guess things don't always feel great when you're lifting, or maybe you do get that moment
they should do it. Shouldn't hurt, and I think that's where Feldenkrais really does go well with lifting weights, because there's no perfect way to squat. It's your individual anatomy, and that's where I think being aware really works, and you do work with your breathing a lot as well. And I think some bodybuilding, on your course, one guy does bodybuilding.
Yes. Well, he's a
weightlifter. Okay. Yeah. Well, even
even more. No, I
And
think it's wonderful.
It does change, because like for me now, I honestly do not clench my jaws and neck. So
that's
the
huge
feet.
habit.
So,
That's great.
and it's things that normally I do, like even when you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you can see the but now it's very like, I know it's the shoulders. So it, speaking from my experience, I think it can help everyone. And like you said,
I think a big I think the big help is something you've just touched on there, is just being mindful of these things. I think too many people go into a gym and just lift. And we say try and connect with a muscle, but actually probably you just got to be mindful of the whole movement pattern rather than just one part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because they say sensing yourself with attention is awareness.
Yourself like that.
Sensing yourself with attention. That's
it
awareness.
is under tension.
It's not something you have to be sitting in a cross-legged position. It's
and doing it slowly. I think another one you sent me is if you can't do it slow, you can't do it fast. And I love that, because you see so many people doing reps like this, and it's just slow it down.
Squatting and chest pressing are probably two of the ones that are abused, where people just do them quickly and try and bounce out of the hole instead of actually controlling the movement. But, the weight controls the movement, not you. And that's only ever going to lead to injury. It's okay initially, but at some point, something's going to go wrong.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people need to love to listen to music when they train. If I'm on my own, I don't. I'm not saying you have to do this every time, but sometimes don't, because that's just like hyping you up, but it can stop you from being aware. So I think not every time, but just try it without music. Not even
I'd actually try to change, move away from having to train aggressively or hyping myself up. Often I'll stick a podcast on, something I don't need to pay much attention to. I might in between sets have a listen, but actually generally, just train, because what you find is you get so worked up that you are rushing your reps, and then afterwards as well, you're still in an aggressive mood post training. I like to just be able to chill, relax, even during training. Walk back into the house and be not worked up and annoyed.
That's lovely. That's great, Andy.
It used to start when I was in Nairobi, getting in the car. I can't drive with certain music playing because I drive too aggressively. If I've got like rap on or hip hop, I tend to drive more aggressively. So actually I started listening to more things like sea shanties as I drive. I quite enjoy that. I'm just I'm getting old, obviously. But just listen to a couple of sea shanties, sing along. And then my driving experience is calmer. And so when I used to drive to the gym, I would get to the gym, what driving in Nairobi's like. You get to the gym annoyed, you train annoyed, You drive home annoyed, and you can carry that mood through to family time, and being around the house. And, so I've been quite mindful of those things in my life where don't drive annoyed, drive in a good mood, because then you're safer driving. And then, you're more of a pleasure to be around when you get out of the car.
Yeah, and you notice more as well.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing, actually, that you notice the different states of your mind, and you are able to state change just by a decision to say, listen to something less aggressive.
Mhm.
And I find that Feldenkrais, no matter what sort of, I don't know, anger, despair, anything, or even joy, it's just an incredible state changer.
It is. Well,
Yeah.
you use it to go to sleep sometimes.
Yes,
when you can't sleep.
absolutely. When
think
I
that's
can't sleep,
Yeah.
I just do something gentle with my hands, with my eyes, or with my mouth. It's just, it is.
And well, we've been talking about it for a long time, coming up with a Feldenkrais warm up for before your lifting session, because I've taken a few moves from you and incorporated them, and they
good.
are wonderful. I think it's quite nice to start your session very slow, very aware, very small movements. I know a lot of people don't have time for that, but even 10 minutes makes a big difference.
Even 5. True.
Yeah, I know it's hard for you to distill it.
No, I understand, and I appreciate that the aim of the weightlifting hour or the fitness hour is to do something that's going to make you fit and strong.
Yeah.
And it's cardio. But it does help to start small with awareness. It's, there's just one little bit I want to finish with here is genetics matter and your environment matters.
Yeah.
But gaining knowledge of our daily movement just creates either dizzy or potential. And so starting small, bringing that, sensing yourself with attention, and then building up to the crescendo, and possibly even a little bit at the end. But maybe the endorphins that you feel from your session are enough. I don't know.
No, it's good to come down.
Maybe just some breathing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
Yeah.
a lot of people do that at the end, 10 minutes breathing to just get back into that rest and digest state.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about that before on the podcast, like eating straight after you're super hyped from your workout is not the best idea.
No.
So taking some time to just come back.
All my clients, I say, go for a walk after the training if you can, and take half an hour to an hour before you eat. Just let your blood pressure and your pulse, resting heart rate get back to normal. And just go, chill out, do some stretching or whatever it may be, then eat.
Really. It's that eternal balance between the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic, the fight and flight, the lift, fight and flight, and then the rest and digest. Yeah. And the ability to be able to do that, because if you get stuck in the parasympathetic, that's when you have problems.
That's the thing. I think the modern world has people stuck in the parasympathetic because of work stresses of social media, whatever it may be. People just get trapped in this sort of, stress bubble and not realizing stress is probably the biggest killer. Stress, then the other illness through cortisol or whatever. And people are just, shortening their lives by things that, yes, it may seem important at, the time, but when you're ill, you'll think, I wish I didn't have that stressful job for so long, and I wish I, had stepped away from it earlier. I think that's half where we are in this world currently.
Yeah, that's why it is important to do some form of exercise or
Yes.
some mindfulness or awareness, whatever,
Yeah.
just to create a break from from the overstimulation.
Big time.
Yeah.
So if you are a listener in Nairobi or even in Kenya, you can have a session with my mum. Well, in the show notes, I'll put her Instagram handle, how you can contact her. Are you doing classes at the moment?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can do the ATM classes, but also the more hands-on functional integration. And I mean, it is literally. And he's got a new cat.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Chewy. He wanted to get up on the lap situation.
And I mean, you've had children, you've had horse riders. I mean, it's bodybuilders,
especially
weightlifters. It truly is incredible, and I hope this podcast has enlightened you to what it's about, and it has truly helped Leon and I through many niggles, and well, especially you. Well,
Yeah, because
me a lot.
every time I post, it's like, what's Feldenkrais? And I sit there for like 2 minutes looking at the message, and I'm like, how do I explain
You're like,
this
it's not
to
yoga, it's not
Yeah.
massage, it's not stretching.
I'm sure a lot of the guys who've been asking will enjoy this.
It's kind of a study of movement.
Yeah.
It's almost a study of movement and how the body moves.
It's just that when someone asks and you know, like, okay, it's movement, but how do I explain it to the person? Like what, the words to explain what, like I had a shoulder pain and we worked on my toe, and someone is like, what? It doesn't really, you have to sort of experience it to be like, oh, that's
like engineering for the human body.
Well,
Yeah.
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
And it's not woo-woo at all.
No, it's
It's not.
No, Dr. Feldenkrais was very, very concerned that it would not be considered woo-woo. Yes, it was spacey. Something. It had to have very scientific roots.
It does. I mean, just the knowledge of anatomy, and I don't know how he created the lessons of how things connect. It is.
I know that.
He was a genius. It is
absolutely,
truly incredible.
Because he definitely looked at the body as a different way from what we
how we see it.
Yeah,
He saw those connections, and
and yet the connections that he asks you to make are very foundational. The things that children can do without thinking, but we can't. We have to learn to let go of something in order to do them.
I will always remember, this one where you're lying on your front. And you've got to turn over without using your muscles. Just your spine.
Just the pelvis and the spine.
Oh my goodness. Like, that sounds so easy, but do not use your muscles, your pelvis and your spine.
Is it like how babies?
I was in the Himalayas in 2005. I want to say 2005, 2006 time. In a place called Ladakh in Leh, right up in the mountains. And I went to see a yoga instructor. And one of the first things he did was got me to lay down and he said, get up. And every time I go up, he goes, no, lay down again. Get up until I got up without using my arms, without, sort of, trying to sit upright and use my abs. He was like, no. So in the morning, what you want to do is just almost roll out of bed. Just almost, just rotate your pelvis and then, your feet touch the ground and you're up. Moving, rather than,
we're used to doing crunches and being like,
exactly. I was like,
maximum muscular effort without thinking of bones.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I think also it's more difficult to let go. It's more difficult not to use your abdominals as the main,
very hard.
The main efforts.
Very hard.
It is a difficult thing.
It is. So
feels wonderful.
There you go. We'll have listeners trying to get up from there.
But without muscular effort. But once you took me through how you do it, it's actually easy.
easy. Yeah, they're all easy.
You just need to learn how to do it, and
It's like you
it is
remember
retraining your brain.
Yeah.
You like remember,
Yeah.
it's incredible.
Yes.
I think we will leave this podcast here. Maybe we'll have you back, and you can talk through an ATM.
ATM. Yes, absolutely. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Maybe a good one for like guys who lift weights or
Yeah,
something
right.
specific. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You as the listeners, let us know if you would play that, and we will get my mum back on. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been
Yes, thank you,
an
Moyra.
honor, I must say.
We got you onto the podcast, and
Yeah.
we've I just think it's such I think you're the only person who does it here.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, there's a
I
lady who
am.
does it on horses. It is done on animals.
Yeah.
But yes, if
Yes.
you are interested, please do contact my mum. And if you live overseas, I think
Yes,
Feldenkrais
that's fine.
is
Absolutely. Yes, or it's zoomable.
or look for a practitioner in your area, especially if you're in Europe.
Easy.
I mean,
Yeah.
Austria is the home of, well, the new home.
Well, that's my home.
Your
Yes.
home of Feldenkrais.
I think,
Yeah.
Yes.
So look out for Feldenkrais. So, hope everyone has
Thank
a
you.
nice
Have a
weekend.
very-
Yes.
And Andy, hope your cats.
Yes.
This is just 2 of 5. All around.
Oh, jeez.
5 dogs, 5 cats. Thing is, this is a problem. I don't like odd numbers. I like even numbers. It's all to do with balance.
So you need
All
to
right.
Now I feel like I need one more dog. Well, there's possibly another dog coming already. Well, it isn't coming.
Pug. If the pug is there, then that's.
Yeah, Pug is there, but then I want another one, so I have to get 2. You know how it goes. It's like,
Good
yeah.
thing you live on a farm.
the real animal farm, eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
all right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.